Smiling Friends, it's over!
Yes, but while that is true, I still believe there are many mysteries and secrets yet unsolved in the universe of Smiling Friends. One of the biggest ones being the timeline of the show. During my latest rewatch, I started noticing inconsistencies in the timeline, moments that didn't add up with the season I was watching. So I decided to restart my watch through and take meticulous notes as I went through the series episode by episode. And I found something. A hidden timeline within the show that doesn't align with the airing order, and reveals a level of detail and planning that was unknown to everyone during the initial release of Smiling Friends. This is the official episode order of the show, beginning with Desmond's big day out and ending with Charlie's uncle dies and doesn't come back. But I think the actual order is something a little more like this. When viewed in this order, moments that feel out of place or out of character suddenly start to make sense. We're going to talk about the show in this new episode order and why this specific order makes more sense than the original release order. Let's dive in, starting with the first true episode of the show. Still Desmond's big day out, actually, yeah. I'll explain it, but it didn't make sense to move this one. I'll admit, starting with matching first episodes is a little anticlimactic, but I really couldn't place this episode anywhere else. It's referenced so many times throughout the series that it really belongs right at the beginning. And Desmond's Big Day Out is an oddity in that it is both the pilot of the series and the first episode, so it being the starting point for the series really just makes sense. There's not really too much to mention for the first episode. I found a few things that help cement its place as the true first episode, but that's about it. Those being the fact that we see Mr. Frog's agent walking around in the opening shot, so we know that he hasn't been consumed yet. The man in the walls is still alive. And also, I think the Blibblies might be from Spamtopia, but that's a minor point. Now the second episode is where things get interesting, because it is actually... Oh, it's just the actual second episode?
Hello, but I'm not sorry.
Look, okay, these first couple episodes establish the groundwork for the series. You really can't move them around without causing all kinds of problems. Go ahead, try. Okay, see what happens? Mr. Frog is a key character in this timeline moving forward, and where he is at in his career is something we'll look to as a guidepost later on in the timeline. There are a few crucial pieces of information provided in this episode though. One is that we know Smormu is alive as of 2 months ago due to this YouTube thumbnail, and he is alive until the end of Shrimp's Odyssey, so this episode must come before that one. We also see this thumbnail, which I'm still a little conflicted about. At first, I thought it might be Mr. Frog's war, but obviously at this point, Mr. Frog hasn't become president yet, so it couldn't be that. I also thought it could be the war that Alan is trying to find updates on.
I want to watch the updates on the war.
But just based on the vibe of the thumbnail and how the title feels, it's like it's talking about an entire war that has already happened in the past, so I think this is actually a historical war within the Smiling Friends universe, and not one that is currently ongoing.
Did you say Spanish?
No, Spamish.
That's right, our first deviation from the airing order. I think the third episode, chronologically, is actually the Magical Red Jewel, aka Tyler Gets Fired. It might seem like this is a strange episode to put so early on, but the more you look into the details of this episode, the more plausible this becomes. One of the background gags of the show is finding the fifth Smiling Friend, but for some reason they always end up dying, or being a fraud, or dying. But the search for the fifth Smiling Friend wouldn't make sense if Tyler was there unseen in the background the entire time. With Tyler being fired early on, it kind of makes sense that this void is formed and the characters attempt to fill it throughout the entire series. But it's not just that. There were a few other facts that helped me place this episode early in the timeline. From Alan's reaction here, it seems like this is the first time that he's seeing the boss's son. Also, it seems odd that none of the characters know that Pym can speak Spanish, unless they haven't been working together very long and haven't had the time to develop those interpersonal relationships yet. And lastly, I don't think there's any way
They actually sucked on my nose. It was like pretty recently, it wasn't that long ago, but
this could be from only a few months ago if this episode was actually in season 2. Pushing it forwards to nearly the beginning of the timeline just makes sense.
How do I look, yellow man?
Once again, we have a season 1 episode near the beginning, but for good reason. In this episode, Smormu dies. And since we get a date of death, it's really impossible to move this episode any farther back. But also, more interestingly, this episode boasts a murder mystery hidden in plain sight. When Smarmu won the populace vote and was inducted as the 5th Smiling Friend, not everyone was pleased. Not surprising given the tightness of the votes. In this episode, Pym is depressed about his romantic prospects, and Smarmu attempts to cheer him up with this silly little dance.
Pym, I can cheer you up. Da-da-dee-da-doo-da.
But we see that Charlie is displeased. Not because the dance was bad, no, it was a good dance, but because he saw Smarmu as someone trying to replace his dear friend Tyler, someone Charlie was very close with given his outrage when Tyler is fired,
What? You fired Tyler, you fired me too.
and him trying to get Tyler rehired, and also supporting Tyler's decision to pursue his music career, as we see in the post-credits clip from the Magical Red Jewel episode.
Just gonna keep making my music. Respect, man.
Placing the Magical Red Jewel episode right before Shrimp's Odyssey gives us the motivation behind Charlie's brutal murder of Smarmu James Carter.
The power of Christ compels you!
Our first big timeline alteration from the original airing order, the Curse of the Green Halloween Witch, I believe, is actually the first Halloween the Smiling Friends experience together. And for two reasons, but one big reason. And that big reason is Pym. The horror sequence for this episode, which is absolutely amazing, by the way. I can't gush about this episode enough. It might be my favorite in the entire series. But the horror sequence stems from Pym's insecurities and feelings that he is always being pushed around by everyone and not taken as seriously as the rest of the Smiling Friends. But really, if we look at the series as a whole, Pym plays a pivotal role in the entire thing, and while yes, Charlie does take advantage of Pym's kindness, I think overall he's a respected member of the group. However, this may not have always been the case. I think that this episode takes place close to the time when Pym was hired to start working at Smiling Friends. This would account for him not being listened to during the food ordering scene, and not only that, I think that Charlie is the one that got Pym the job at Smiling Friends. In the abduction episode, which we'll get to, Charlie says he's known Pym for 7 years.
Pym, I've known you for 7 years.
And I don't think they've been at the company that long. I think Charlie was hired, worked for a while there with Tyler, and then got Pym a job there, which eventually led to Tyler's firing. Because, quite frankly, Pym is very good at his job. But that's not all. Charlie getting Pym his job would also account for why Pym puts up with Charlie slacking off and putting the burden of more work on Pym so often.
But I think this guy's a lost cause. Nah, dude, I'm not doing this one. You're gonna have to do it. I can't do it.
Okay, fine.
Pym feels indebted to Charlie for the job and just kind of puts up with his laziness because of that. So Pym is a newish employee and is struggling with not being respected by his new and younger coworkers. Then there's also this guy. Known officially as Blue Janitor Dude, he was in the original concept art for the show, and his appearance here is kind of a nod to fans who were theorizing about him in earlier seasons. But what if he was actually hired shortly after the death of Smarmu and then subsequently murdered by Pym? Wouldn't it be the first time one Smiling Friend killed another? Now would it? Ignore that this is a dream sequence. This is the CIA, and we're MK Ultraing into your brain right now to delete this scene from it.
Oh, yeah?
I already said yes.
There's really not much information in this episode that would justify moving it anywhere, so it basically stays in its original position. However, there are a few fun facts I want to bring up about this episode. One, we know this episode happens before the Mole Man episode, because Mole Man has a Polaroid of Charlie holding the key on his wall. This episode also features the first instance of Charlie expressing his Christian beliefs.
But I'd never break the 6th commandment, dude.
I'm going to make a video about something adjacent to this related to Charlie soon, so look out for that. The soda says no dip.
Yeah, no dip.
Which might mean he knows the boss, or maybe it's just a common phrase within the world of Smiling Friends.
No dip.
And lastly, it's basically confirmed that the Fun Twins are from Spamtopia, because Pym can understand what they're saying. Which you might say, well, shouldn't Charlie know that they are from Spamtopia if the Magical Red Jewel episode happened before this one? But actually, if you remember, Charlie wasn't in Spamtopia with the boss and Pym. He was with Alan killing an 18-year-old baby butterfly thing. Anyway, sorry. I don't know why I'm getting so passionate about this timeline. Let's just move on.
Oh, boo-hoo.
Again, this is one of those episodes that has to come near the beginning, but there's one definite detail that helps place this episode. And that is the fact that DJ Spit doesn't have the scar on his chest from the Alan's Adventure episode yet, so it is definitely before that one. Also, this is the first time we see the boss's assassination tendencies, which he may or may not have utilized to assassinate President Shrimp in the future. Oh, and also this Peanut Man is responsible for the death of Charlie's grandmother.
Been filling my peanuts up with toxic pesticide.
My grandma actually passed on from eating your peanuts, so I don't really mess with that kind of stuff.
I know you want to see all those sexy Brazilian girls.
I'm sure you saw this coming, but yeah, this episode is near the front half as well. But a couple of good reasons for that. One, we see Mr. Frog playing soccer, meaning that he hasn't become president yet. And I'm also pretty sure this is Desmond's mom at the airport, so perhaps his extermination business is still doing very well, and he paid for a vacation for his mother as a thank you for contacting the Smiling Friends and saving his life. And it's a little subtle, but I still feel like Pym feels newer to the group in this episode, as everyone gangs up on him when he doesn't book their hotel, and has similar vibes to the Halloween Witch episode.
I ought to knock your block off, you little freak.
This episode has my favorite line delivery in the entire series.
And all we're hearing is injecting DNA into an egg.
It just makes me laugh every time. And all the information that helps me place this episode comes from within the first minute. One, the Professor Psychotic YouTube channel is in the Mr. President episode, and I think that video is actually posted after this episode, where Professor Psychotic is trying to recreate his experiment of creating life to show the public. Two, Alan is trying to get updates on the war.
Watch the updates on the war.
Which I really thought was the war that Mr. Frog starts to conquer the Earth. But after paying closer attention to mentions about war during my research, I actually think this is about the genocide that Mr. Blingo is committing. And we'll get more info on that in the near future. But lastly, the alarm is back. And I know this is a bit, but I think the alarm is disabled here and never used again.
Right, Pym. I forgot about that factoid.
Obviously, this episode has to take place after the original Mr. Frog episode, but also Mr. Blingo's war crimes will come up again in the future.
He wiped a whole race of people off the face of the planet.
And yeah, wow, that's all the information I had. I guess we're moving on.
Dude, that's completely flat. That's 100% flat, dude.
So this episode, surprisingly, is pivotal to the rest of the timeline. So I'll have to jump around episodes to fully explain it, but basically this episode is called back to a ton of times, and when and how it's called back to help me place it here on the timeline. This is the episode where we meet Fillmore and Duncan,
UFO took them, it was a UFO!
who later go on to start a Netflix show about aliens. Also, Pym and Charlie become accustomed to the existence of aliens in this episode, and thus aren't surprised by the appearance of one in the Enchanted Forest episode. Also, in this episode, this is where Charlie states that he's known Pym for 7 years, which we covered earlier.
I've known you for 7 years.
They learn that the Earth is flat, but promise not to tell anyone, which is why Glep is unaware of the true nature of the Earth when he is recounting Charlie's resurrection to his grandchild. And I really don't want to dwell on this episode too much because we're going to come back to it constantly, and when we reach the episodes that those points are mentioned in. So just know that the reason this is 11th in the timeline is because a bunch of other episodes reference it.
She's actually pretty good at that.
Yeah, she's good.
Oh, look at that. We're back in the first season. As I mentioned in the previous episode, I think it's crucial that this episode comes after the alien one, just due to the fact that Pym and Charlie are so nonchalant about the appearance of an alien in the forest. If anything, they seem more annoyed by it than amazed that they're seeing an alien, perhaps because they already have experience with otherworldly beings. Also, this alien looks like a juvenile version of the aliens that abducted Pym and Charlie and consumed Bill, which would help reinforce Pym's animosity towards the alien later on in the episode, since he was Bill's friend.
You said aliens weren't fantasy, Charlie.
Let's get to the next one before something terrible happens. Too late.
This once I can do it for nothing. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
This really doesn't help place the episode too much, but I really love the hidden lore behind this cameo request. So it's requested by James from Idaho, who I'm pretty sure is actually this James.
You did it again, James.
and he tells Tyler to go to hell. And we know Tyler and Charlie have a friendship connection, and it's likely that James is jealous of that connection due to his parasocial relationship with Charlie. I just think it's a cool meta sequence they throw in for those paying really close attention. Anyways, back to the important stuff. This Netflix screen is oddly super important to the timeline. First, we have the "so this just happened" with the nuclear explosion. Pretty sure this is a reference to Mr. Blingo and his extermination of one of the races in Smiling Friends. Then you have Fillmore and Duncan having a Netflix show about aliens, which you could say they had this before the alien episode, but I really don't think so due to this scene.
It's real! I was just right before.
There's also another war update at the bottom, but the title is cut off, and it looks like it could be a conflict between humans and the Spamish, which could be the start of Mr. Frog's global conquest. And minor detail, but it does appear that this little thing on top of the fridge is getting older, but that might just be the way it was colored in this scene.
See you later.
So, few important things happen in this episode. We know it's after Tyler's fired, Smarmo is strangled, and the blue janitor dude is drowned due to Charlie suggesting that Jumbo could become the next Smiling Friend.
Could be the fifth Smiling Friend, Jumbo.
We also know it's after Mr. Frog becomes president due to this video. And I think due to the age of this video, we can assume that the Critter War is the war that Mr. Blingo was involved in when he
wiped a whole race of people off the face of the planet.
And also, I think this episode specifically takes place sometime before Charlie dies and doesn't come back, because I think that the death of his daughter is what causes Satan to enter his depressive state that we find him in that episode. That and the loss of property.
You see this line right here?
Yeah,
That means that my property starts right here.
That's not
It goes
what
up.
But enough with these cool theories. Let's look at a boring episode.
No thanks, man. No, we're all good, man. We're all.
Mothman really is the lamest cryptid. Really, all we know about this episode is that it takes place after the Brazil special,
Is this like the Brazil thing where it's gonna be like a big fake out?
but also it's a summer episode, so it sort of makes sense that this would happen before the next Halloween episode.
Whoa, is that fucking blackface, dude?
Speaking of Halloween episodes, here we go. Yeah, we get to see Glep's wife and Charlie's girlfriend for the first time. Alright, look, I had to place the second Halloween episode somewhere, okay? Let's just move on.
Not a flashback. I actually died. Like no.
Purely for no other reason than this cryptid existing, I think this takes place after Pim and Charlie save Mother Nature. But we do get introduced to the landlord, which helps place a later episode. And this is the episode where DJ Spit gets his scar. So the 18th spot goes to Alan's adventure. Oh look, DJ Spit survived. Alright, moving on.
Okay, we got your.
I know this is canonically the last episode in the series, but it just doesn't feel that way at all. This really gives the vibe of like a mid-series episode, so I'm placing it as far back as I can, but in my heart, this episode takes place like right in the middle. All the actual info we get from this episode is that the moon is still intact, so it has to come before Le Voyage Incroyable de Monsieur Grenouille.
My home country.
Okay, tied with the injecting DNA into an egg delivery, the praying scene from this episode, absolute gold.
Heavenly Father.
Anywho, did you know the boss in Glep worked at Smiling Friends alone for 9 years before hiring Squim? Kinda weird.
Pinot Twilight all the way back in 2001.
Also, we kind of know this from the passing of the holidays, but at least a few years have passed since Desmond's big day out, based on the fact that Pim's brother has grown up from the little running around kid to a crypto dealer now. I mean, I don't know exactly how critters age, but it has to have been at least a little while. And it might seem a little weird for so much time to have passed compared to how many episodes we have, but the Smiling Friends handle quite a lot of cases.
You guys made 126 people smile this year.
And we only get a glimpse into the eventful ones. Also, Charlie is in a very foul mood at Christmas dinner, and I think this is due to his uncle being imprisoned for being a sex pest.
My friends, and I love my God, and I love my country, and.
This might be the only episode of the entire show that I actually dislike. It's not even close to the lowest rated episode somehow, and I don't really understand that. I usually skip this one on my rewatches. And we don't really get too much info about the timeline either. But the boss does show more of his ruthless tendencies, and we see that Charlie and his girlfriend have recovered from the Christmas dinner and are still together.
Do you realize something?
There is literally no no information about this episode that helps me place it on the timeline, other than the fact that it is definitely after Desmond's big day out.
God, somebody call the police!
Ladies and gentlemen, President Shrimp has gotten his shit pulled back.
You just tell me, explain to me, how did the magic bullet go through President Shrimp's head, his wife, and then back into President Shrimp's head?
And I know that placing this episode here might not make complete sense given a certain episode that we haven't covered yet, but it will by the end of the video. Just stick with me. We do get a nice list of confirmed earlier episodes via the pictures that Mole Man has taken of Pim and Charlie, and those episodes are The Enchanted Forest, Shrimp's Odyssey, Desmond's Big Day Out, Brother's Egg, The Boss Finds Love, Charlie, Pim, and Bill versus the Aliens, Gwimply Definitive Remastered Enhanced Extended Edition DX 4K, Mr. Frog, Who Violently Murdered Simon S. Salty, and a silly Halloween special. Also, it's very odd that in all the pictures Mole Man has of Charlie, his girlfriend isn't present in any of them. Perhaps their relationship is just for show?
How about a cool fucking training montage?
Based on the fact that this is the only time we see the Smiling Friends mobile, I think this episode is pretty late in the series, and Charlie and Pim give off the vibe that they've been working together for quite a while in this episode.
See, Charlie? Turns out you are good at helping silly characters smile.
It just overall feels like a late game episode to me, given how meta the episode is.
My name is Bob.
Really, the only basis I have for putting this one so late in the timeline is the fact that it is a commentary on AI, and that's a recent development. So yeah, the 25th spot, FriendBot version 125-892-18731-921-352879687952. Oh, I bet you didn't expect a season 1 episode to pop up all the way back here. One big reason for that is Charlie's resurrection. That's a pretty insane event that is never referenced again, so I feel like it must take place near the end of the series. Also, Satan is very depressed in this episode, possibly because his daughter was killed and he lost a fourth of hell in the same night. Another reason to place this episode near the end is the fact that we get to see an old Glep. In the Mr. President episode, we learn that Glep is over 1,000 years old, and he doesn't look very decrepit at all, meaning that this scene must take place thousands or possibly tens of thousands of years into the future. But even being that far in the future, I still don't think that this is the last episode of Smiling Friends chronologically. There is one more that might just be even farther in the future and possibly beyond time itself.
President Peanut! All hail the Peanut!
So this episode is a bit of an oddity, because it takes place in a few different places along the timeline. It starts at the end of Mr. Frog's presidency, and we know eventually he is succeeded by President Shrimp before Shrimp's eventual assassination, which was probably done by Mr. Boss.
Hey, I'll take matters into my own hands.
So freaking help me, dude. I will.
However, after fighting with his father, Mr. Frog destroys a portion of the moon, meaning his journey to the swamp must have taken longer than the rest of the series, as we never see the moon broken in any other episodes. And then there's the Enlightenment sequence. I believe this sequence takes not just a long time, but infinite time. Mr. Frog jumping to eat the Enlightenment bug is shown to slow down time, but I think this is a Zeno's dichotomy paradox situation, which is basically a paradox that involves making progress, but each step of the way you cover half as much distance, effectively making the final goal impossible to reach. This would be the normal search for enlightenment for every other creature, getting ever closer but never quite obtaining it, never actually eating the bug. But with Mr. Frog's unusual propensity for success, he is actually able to bend reality and eat the bug of knowledge, thus achieving enlightenment. But I think this enlightened state still took a near infinite amount of time to reach, meaning that while Mr. Frog did achieve it, this sequence shows the passage of millions of uncounted years, thus explaining why reality seems to warp around Mr. Frog as he chases the bug of knowledge. And upon reaching enlightenment, he is shifted into a new reality where he can exist peacefully and experience fulfillment for the first time in his life. Or at least, that's what I think. But what is the purpose of this secret timeline, and why make it so obscure? Smiling Friends has so many references to real-life oddities and memes.
I know 4 employees that I just adore.
I know 2 girls that I just adore.
Do you realize something?
Do you realize something?
That I think this timeline is a way to further express creative freedom and the deep passion that Zach and Michael had for the world of Smiling Friends. Creating endless background gags and hidden lore for the show was part of the creative process for them, and this timeline is just one of the examples of the many ways that the creators showed love for their passion project. And that just makes me smile. Anywhoza, that is the completion of the timeline and the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and as per new tradition, I'm going to respond to a few comments from the previous video. Crazy username, by the way. But yeah, I really like the idea of Infinity Train, like the concept. I haven't seen the show yet, and I know Owl House might possibly have Bill Cipher in it, which I'm kind of excited to learn about. So I will be watching both of those shows. I'll probably make something on Infinity Train because I kind of know a few things about it. But if I find anything else compelling about either the shows or Amphibia, which I think is more standalone than the others, but regardless, if I find something super interesting about them, I'll definitely be making maybe an iceberg or just like a theory video about them, because they all 3 of them have like super high ratings like IMDb, so I'm pretty excited to get to them. Definitely want to make a video on all the secrets in Gravity Falls. I watched like a video on all the codes, and even just that is like insane, but there's even more than that. There's all the different cipher sequences. Like the comment says, the backwards speaking. This happens it happens at the beginning of each title drop, or during each title drop, I guess, but it's also like very prevalent throughout the show, and it gives a lot of extra lore. You would have to own a copy of it to figure that out, which is really interesting that they put that into the show at a time where people didn't have as much access to something like OBS or even just buying it on a streaming service. So I'm very excited to learn about all the secrets that are hidden within Gravity Falls. And sort of in that same vein, the Bill Cipher ARG hunt is completely insane. I'll definitely be making a full video on this, maybe after the next video, unless something like crazy comes up, but I really want to cover that. It's such a cool real life thing that happened, and it's mixed in with the lore of the show. It's very fun. I can't wait to cover it. Again, thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to share more Smiling Friends theories with you in the next video. Share what you thought about the timeline and any video suggestions you might have in the comments. One last time, thank you for watching, and have a great night, everyone.